What does it mean to live and live well with lung cancer? It's a tough question. Licensed clinical social worker Julie Larson will help us explore the tools, boundaries, and the mindset that support quality of life. Julie is a friend and a champion of longevity, and we are grateful to have her back with us. Additionally, our very own survivor friend, Margaret Carver, is going to assist with the Q&A portion. So please make sure use the EventMobi app to submit your questions in real time. And again, let's welcome our friend Julie Larson to the stage.
The room just keeps filling up. Just keep coming in. We should just have an open door policy and just keep coming in. I feel it is important to let you know I have not climbed any mountains or run any marathons. So that is, I'm just going to level set from the very beginning. I have not done that. And when people ask me to speak, I truly never consider myself an inspirational speaker. I am a therapist, first and foremost. I spend my days 60 minutes at a time, sitting one-on-one with cancer patients, caregivers, the bereaved, anybody impacted by a cancer diagnosis. That's what I do day in and day out. And then I spend a lot of time right here on a stage. And like I said, I don't consider myself an inspirational speaker. I consider myself an educator. And even more so, I am teaching you how to teach yourself. Because you're going to walk out of here and you're going to need to know how to do this. And that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to get rolling and going here, and because I got a lot of things to cover, and I do want to make space for Margaret to facilitate our Q&A and to really hear from you, which is where boots hit the ground and I get the most out of this. Some of you may be newly diagnosed. Some of you may be in active treatment right now. Some of you may be well beyond your diagnosis date. Wherever I find you, I want you to sit back, maybe get a piece of paper and a pen out, because I think some of the things I have to say today you're going to want to think about and you're going to want to write some notes about. So let's get a piece of paper and a pencil out. And I sometimes joke that I do, in these moments of speaking, individual therapy in mass. So we're going to have a moment, and I know it's 3 p.m, but we're going to sit together. I want you to really think about yourself, is what I'm saying. I want you to think about how all of this is showing up for you. A diagnosis of cancer brings many of these things, right? Information overwhelm. It's fear and uncertainty about the future, uncertainty about your current commitments and what you're going to be able to do down the road, questions about how will this treatment impact me, because the doctors keep saying everybody's unique, everybody's individual. How will this feel in my body? How will I be? Disclosure decisions, who, what, when, where. Right? Why would I tell somebody? Why would I just choose to keep this private? So many different things are coming up when we think about a diagnosis of cancer. And this may be true for you if you are the survivor, and it may be true for you if you are a caregiver, right? That affects all of us. Where are we going over the next 45 minutes together? I want to talk about cultivating a habit of noticing. All of self-care begins with noticing. I'll say that again. Every bit of self-care begins with paying attention to yourself. So let's figure out what that means in a very concrete way. Building a toolbox of self-care strategies. And so I've got some ideas, and I'm going to put those things on the table, but maybe in our Q&A, some of that will come up as well, and we'll keep continuing to broaden that toolbox of ways that we care for ourselves, balancing your needs and building connections. Okay, first, and I warned you we're going to move fast. How do you notice your stress? That is an individual question to each of you. The truth of the matter is, our stress shows up for all of us in 3 ways. Our stress shows up in our thinking, right? It shows up in our emotion, our feeling, and it shows up in our bodies, right? So it's happening, all three of those things are happening for all of you, but when you stop and look up or close your eyes and think about a moment of stress, a moment of struggle, how do you notice it? There are people that walk into my office and they are thinkers. I think this, and I think if this were to happen, and then I think of this. Once I know this, then I'll know better. And I think this, and what if, and what if, and what about this, and if this happens, and then what? Think, right? And I often say to them, when you're thinking all of those things, how does it make you feel? And my thinkers tend to go immediately back to, well, I think that this, and I think that this, and if this were to happen, I think, right? And the challenge for that then is to help my thinkers begin to figure out what they're feeling, because their feelings are going to tell them something. Now, I have different people who come into my office, and the emotion is all over the room. They are lonely, they are overwhelmed, they are feeling scared, they just don't know, they're feeling upset, and all that emotion is crowding. And when I say to them, when you are feeling, can you hear and do you know the story behind that feeling of overwhelm? What's happening? What's the narrative there? And that's hard, they have to listen different, okay? And then I've got another subset of people who come into my office and they are in a crunch on my couch. And their body is tight and heavy, or they feel heavy and just like, ugh. And it's all over their body, right? So when I say that, again, it happens to all three of those things happen to all of us, but do you know you? That's how I would begin. Do you know how you notice your stress? When we begin to take care of ourselves, we have 3 entrance ramps for self-care. We can begin to address how we're thinking. We can begin to figure out ways of self-soothing those emotions and those feelings. And we can also look at how that is showing up in our body and how to calm and ground and quiet our system. All right? So as we kind of sit together today, let's bucket that. Let's structure this self-care into there are strategies around challenging the thoughts that get in our way and the traps in our thinking. There are strategies and ways that you've probably historically been comforted and reassured and calmed emotionally. And there are also very well-known ways of quieting and calming your body. All right? 3 entrance ramps to self-care. Okay, so step 1, and I've already said it, I'll say it again. If you get nothing else from what I talk about today, I hope you leave and you begin to develop a habit of checking in with yourself. What does that mean? Well, sometimes when I notice my stress, right, then I will just say, well, how am I doing here? How am I doing? How am I doing? Okay, I'm disorganized, my head is scattered all over the place, or I'm feeling irritated, I'm feeling frustrated, I'm feeling impatient, or I'm feeling dread and overwhelm. How am I doing here? Oh, I'm feeling really, really like just calm and grateful for what's happening in front of me. Just begin to notice yourself. How am I doing? Can you name the feeling that you're having? There's been research done that we people usually use anywhere from 15 to 20 feeling words on rotation. And yet there are hundreds of feeling words. And if you were sitting in my office, right next to my chair, I have a framed feeling wheel. And so sometimes when I'm sitting with somebody, I'm like, how are you feeling? And they're thinking and they're not quite sure. I hand them that to kind of look over and get another idea of how they're feeling. So my second homework for you, boy, you didn't know you were gonna get homework. My second homework for you would be to broaden your feeling word vocabulary. Because the more specific you can be with how you're feeling, the more specific you can be with how do you care for yourself. Because we do something very different with impatience than we do with annoyance. Even though they sound similar, we might do something very different with them, right? The other really cool, in my opinion, though this is kind of my nerdy science self, thing I think about naming your feelings, is that when we feel stress, it triggers our limbic system, which is back here, right? So that's the oldest part of our brain. That is fight, flight, freeze. And that's there to protect you, right? So either we're gonna run for the hills, or we're gonna and bury ourselves in something and retreat and flee, or we're gonna begin to problem solve and fix and wrestle and argue and fight this, whatever's going on in front of us, or we're like deer in the headlights and we lose ourselves by numbing out with TV or scrolling or just wandering around aimlessly, and that's numb, right? Fight, flight, freeze. We're activated back here. When we notice, I'm in a moment of struggle, I'm not feeling okay. And what is the feeling I'm having? Now I name the feeling. I'm feeling overwhelmed. We've gone from this part of our brain to where our language center is, which is up here. We've drawn a line. We've just turned on the lights into your prefrontal cortex. That's where your language is. As soon as we say the word, what you're feeling. And you know what else lives in your prefrontal cortex? Decision making, emotional regulation, judgment, language, right? So we've just turned that on, and now we've created a little bit of space between being the feeling and having the feeling, right? So just saying the word begins to just make a little bit of room for you to make a choice on how you're gonna care for yourself and get back in the driver's seat. And then in that moment of creating that space, you might ask yourself, what am I doing that's helpful right now? Because sometimes we're on autopilot, am I right? And what am I doing that's not working well for me? Things that you might be doing, I don't know, and this might be something for you to write on your list and talk to your friends or think about, things that you do that might be helpful to you. Sitting down and organizing your thoughts or your things that you need to do on a piece of paper. Getting outside, calling a friend, taking a deep breath, telling yourself that this is a lot and that you'll be okay. Things that you're doing that may not be helpful. Comparing myself to other people, fortune telling, catastrophizing, all or nothing thinking, making aimless trips to the fridge, drinking a bottle of wine at the end of the day, right? I don't know what they are. But you have to begin to notice what's working for me, what's not working for me. All right? Okay, let's just touch base. You bring this code up. I think you can get it. Can you get it on your phone? And if you don't have the Wi-Fi is Marriott Bonvoy Conference, and the access code is all caps HOPE 2025. That's going to make your connectivity a little stronger. And when you get to this app, hopefully you get there, and you can enter one word and submit it, and enter another word and submit it. You can enter as many one words as you want. Does everybody have that QR code and found it? Hector, let's move over to the next screen for me. Let's see if this works. Fingers crossed, who knows? I see it here, but I don't see it up. It's working. You just can't see it yet. I can see it. Hector's going to work his magic so you can see. Maybe. Words I was seeing: hope, happy, grateful, hopeful. Is it coming? Yeah? The question disappeared for you? It went away?
AV, are we able to get it back up? Are you guys working on it?
There's no place to answer. Did you submit once and it left you? Okay. Well.
So Julie's great at improvising.
I'm good at improvising, yeah. You know what I saw? Right now I see Spotify, which is super cool. It's gonna go back. Hector, you know what? Just go back to my presentation. Oh, look at that. Some of you may not have gotten to submit your feeling, so I'm sorry about that if it disappeared. Here's some feelings that were mentioned in there. And When I'm looking at this list, I'm struck by both harder feelings, fearful, or I call them more uncomfortable feelings, stressed, fearful, tired. And then so many amazing feelings there of calm, grateful, happy, hopeful, full, inspired, thankful, content. Sometimes when people walk into my office and they're feeling relatively calm or relatively grateful, they'll say to me, I don't know if I need therapy today. I think I'm, doing good. And I'm like, I'm so glad you're here. Let's figure out why. Because it's so important to know what's contributing to your calm. What's contributing to you feeling grateful and surrounded and loved and lucky today. All right, Hector, let's go back to my presentation if you can. I think all of those things are important to know. When we are feeling upset and you're noticing it in your body, one of the first things that we're going to think to do, I'm going to kind of keep waiting for that to come back. I've asked them to do gymnastics with this a little bit. I don't know where my next slide is. Thank you for your patience. Are there other feelings that you guys felt out there that weren't up on that list? You can just yell them out. Hope? Old? Did I hear old? What? Joyful. When you think about the spectrum of a cancer diagnosis, what shows up? Anxiety. Weary, stress. Overwhelm. Confused, yeah. Okay. Here we go. Look at that. Thank you. So if we're talking about kind of coming back to those 3 entrance ramps for taking care of yourself, right? First and foremost, I think our world, all of self-care is a balance. Everything that we do to take care of ourselves is a balance. And I think a lot of times when we feel stressed, we immediately want to jump in and find answers and figure out the problem. Why am I feeling this way? What happened? What triggered me? What's going on? When oftentimes the first thing that we need to do is to find calm. Because when your body is offline, so is your brain, right? So your body brings you home. We need to come back to the present moment. So much of cancer stress, related stress and worry and fear is flashing us way over here into the future, right? What if? What's going to happen? How will this be? Sometimes our sadness and our loss is rehashing the past, like if only I would have done this, or I wish things used to be the way that they are. And if our mind is on either side of those things, then we are squeezing out the present, right? And your body only lives in your present. Your mind takes time-traveling trips all the time to the future and to the past. But your body lives in the present. And so when we come back to the present, you want to stay there. Cancer has stolen so much. Don't let it steal your present, right? So we've got to come back to this exact right now. Your feelings are data. Look deeper. What do you need? I said in my caregiver talk, and I'll tell this crowd too, so often, most of the time, when we have an uncomfortable feeling, it is signposting an unmet need, right? I feel irritation because I'm needing more clarity. I'm feeling frustrated because I'm needing partnership and consideration. I'm feeling overwhelmed because I'm needing connection and support, right? So how, when you look at what you're feeling, can you unearth what you might be needing? Anxiety, often the bottom of anxiety, if we look and we dig under anxiety, so often what you find underneath worry is an unanswered question. Now, if we're in the habit of like pushing those things out and like I'm feeling okay, I'm fine, that is fight, right? Like I'm getting rid of this uncomfortable feeling, I'm not gonna look at it. then we're never getting a chance to see what it's telling us. So where in your days can you carve out safe space and time to really look at what's unsettling? Because you might discover I have a question. When will my cancer recur? What will happen if it progresses? How long do I have? How will I know? What are the doctors looking at when I go to follow-up exams? All of those things may be living under there and you're like, I'm fine, I'm good. But maybe if you find answers to it, that's helpful to you. And then we can get back to right now. Slow down, find the one next step. So many times people walk into my office for therapy, and for the record, I just feel like it's important to tell you, very, very few people come to my office for therapy when they are newly diagnosed. Very few. Some, not a lot. Most people walk through my doors 3, 6, 9, a year, months later from their diagnosis, when they're like, I'm past treatment or I'm into treatment, I've been doing this for 6 months. I thought I would feel adjusted by now. Everybody else in my life is moving on or kind of getting back into their groove, and who am I? I don't even know what I care about anymore. And that's really, really hard. I say that because in those newly diagnosed periods, you're so surrounded by support, right? There's a medical team, you're busy, you've got medical appointments. It's often later, when everything gets a little more quiet, a little bit more routine, that people find they're quietly struggling. And that's when they walk in my door. And they walk in hoping that by coming to therapy, aha, it's now suddenly gonna all be better. I'm doing that thing, and now I'm gonna be fine. And so how maybe important or shocking or perhaps even disappointing it is to learn that that fear and that worry may never completely go away. That's gonna live in the background. But I believe, because I've sat with people for 20 years, that you will learn to see how that feels, how to navigate it, how to live with it, and how to focus on what's right in front of you while that exists in the background. So learning to notice how I'm feeling and how I'm doing builds your tolerance and gives you flexibility with your attention. You wake up in the morning and you say, you know what? I'm not 100% today. I'm filled with a degree of fatigue and a bit of dread as I walk into this day. I'm not 100%. Okay, I'm gonna shift how I walk through this day. I'm gonna manage my expectations. I'm gonna do this day a bit different. I often use the analogy in my office, and I'll give it to you right now, metaphor, it's more of a metaphor, of driving in the rain. So if you are driving down a major highway and it starts to rain, I hope you drive different. I hope at the very least you turn on your windshield wipers. Have you ever been in such a heavy rain that everybody's really slow when they turn on their hazard lights? Sometimes people pull over on the underpass, or they pull over to the side of the road and wait for that big heavy rain to stop. When it's pouring rain, you drive different. If you're not feeling 100%, then you're gonna drive your day different. And we need to be honest with that. You're not gonna feel comfortable, and perhaps it's reckless and unsafe to just keep plowing through as if everything's fine, I'm fine. It's not fine. Some days are better than others, but maybe one of the things to do is to check in the morning. How am I doing? Remember that, cultivating that habit of checking in? How am I doing today? Well, today, right alongside me is anxiety. I'm gonna walk through this whole day with anxiety right there because I got a scan in the beginning of next week, and I'm feeling that anxiety kind of build as I walk closer and closer to that scan date. So anxiety is living right here. But also in this day, I've got to do this, 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 and this. But I'm gonna have to do it slower. I'm gonna have to take these 3 things off my to-do list because today I'm not at 100%. And when I get to the end of my day, I'm gonna take a minute and I'm gonna install the good. What does that mean? I think of it like uploading a program on a computer, like you install the software, or you install the updates on your phone. Install the good. When we're walking through something that's hard, that's exhausting, that's difficult, it's a lot to do. So at the end of your day, look back. Is there anything in this particular day that worked? Is there anything in this particular day that felt good, felt nice, felt easy? Is there something that you enjoyed? What is it? Install the good, notice it. And that matters a great deal. Maybe it's just like, you know what? We had a beautiful sunny day today. Everything else was kind of crap, but the sky was blue and it was pretty. You know what? This person called today and it was an unexpected phone call. That was a moment of good. Install the good in your life. If you're on social media, if you are somebody that's scrolling, find those profiles and accounts that are all about good news. Install the good on your news feed. Because if we are just consuming what is stressful and hard, that is difficult. Turn on music that makes you feel good. Install the good. Put on a show that you find that's laughing in a good time. Install the good. Get with somebody that always makes you laugh. That we need that levity and joy right alongside all the other stuff that's very real because it's too hard to balance without it, right? Remember that, think of that. Sometimes people ask me, Julie, do you think I'm depressed, clinically depressed? Do I need medication? I think that's a valid conversation and I always will entertain that conversation. It's not a one-shot deal. We're gonna watch over a period of time, right? But one of the things I say to begin with is let's circle the dates on the calendar. Let's do a little bit of research, okay? So on a day when you feel particularly difficult, and it's hard to make decisions, it's hard to motivate, it's hard to initiate tasks, it's hard to connect with other people, you're more fragile emotionally. Let's circle that day. Let's circle that day, and maybe even more so, let's put on a scale of 0 to 10 where we are, okay? And then let's keep moving. And then over time, let's see how often those days are happening. You might be surprised to learn, I'm really only having that happen once every few weeks. That's not as much as I thought, right? Then that's a normal wave of emotion. People think that mental well-being is that everything is always easy and calm and fine. And we need to correct that when you feel angry, when you feel sad, when you feel lonely, if it makes sense in the context of your circumstances, it's appropriate. That's a lot of my job. My job is listening to your life and how you're feeling and seeing, is this matching? If it's matching, then I want you to know I'd be surprised if you weren't feeling this way. It makes sense to me that you feel overwhelm and anxiety. So holding on to that and knowing that. Bookmark your distress over time. And if it's coming up again and again and again, then yes, talk to a medical professional and let's see if it doesn't have to be that hard. Remember our entrance ramps? When we calm ourselves, when we feel calm in our body, we not only feel better, but we act smarter, right? We make decisions more easily, we engage with others, we take on positive risks, we're receptive to new ideas. So how do we get calm? Here's some ideas. You might know these. Some of you may be well versed in these. This might be elementary or review, or maybe something that you haven't learned. But breathing. We think of breathing often as like kind of calming and regulating our entire system. Like when you do long, slow breaths, you definitely quiet your blood pressure, your pulse rate, you'll feel more gentle. But the other important thing to remember is that when we feel stressed, you've activated that limbic system, right? And your body's in stress mode. And in that mode, you don't breathe regularly, especially if you are somebody that freezes. So freeze is like, you kind of like glass over. We often hold our breath in that moment. So breathing isn't just to regulate your system, it's also to just keep moving, to just keep functioning. If you know box breathing, does anybody know box breathing? I see a couple of hands. Sometimes when we say take long breaths and breathing is regulating your system and calming you, it feels very abstract. So using a box helps us to kind of break that down. So if you think of the vertical sides of your box as inhaling and exhaling, and the horizontal lines is holding, and every side is 4 counts, that's a way to quiet and structure your breathing. So inhale, hold, exhale, hold. And you can do that as many times as you need, right? That's a way to quiet and calm. It feels quieter in here just from one. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Do you know that exercise? Any hands? Good. A lot of people use 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 in the middle of the night when they're up and their mind is going and it's hard to quiet and calm and get your body back to calm. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is using all 5 of your senses. We actually have more than that. If you want me to get really abstract, like the sense of being aware of your body, like can you feel your stomach is hungry or can you feel your heart rate? It's a sense. But for simplicity, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5, name 5 things you see. I see the chair, I see the note cards, I see the pen, I see my screen, I see my remote. 4 things you hear. I hear rustling of paper. I hear the sound of the fans. I hear a phone, I think. 3 things you feel physically. I feel the cool of this temperature in this room on my skin. I feel the stickiness of my bare feet in my shoes. I feel this mic pack on my waist. 2 things that you taste, 1 thing that you smell. Do you notice that as I go, I've got to pay more and more attention? Sometimes when we're feeling stress, our attention, our flashlight, is focused right on our worry. We're thinking about the scan. We're thinking about the response to treatment. We're thinking about all the mounting stressors and workload that we have to do around all of this. And when we do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, we're turning that flashlight onto our body and onto the present. And in doing so, we have to pay closer and closer attention to what we feel, what we taste, what we smell. And in that, our body gets quieter. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It can work when you're in the middle of the night. You might have to do it more than once. The power of touch. I love this. So again, when we think about being stressed, our sympathetic nervous system gets activated, right? And in a stress response, the completing of a stress cycle is activating what we call your parasympathetic nervous system. Does anybody know that? Have we got any scientists in the room? It's kind of my geeky science self. But your parasympathetic nervous system gets activated and we do rest and restore, right? So that after we've gone out into the brush and we've fought the lion, yay, and we've done fight, and then we come back to our cave and we have a feast and we celebrate and we take a big nap, right? So parasympathetic nervous system is your body's way of getting back to ground zero, right? When you hug, it's a way to trigger that in your body. You can hug yourself. You can hug somebody that you love, but don't just do it quick. Linger. Stay there. Hold them. Squeeze. Sway. Think about a little tiny one. Does anybody have any little tiny ones in their life? Little tiny kids, little babies, little ones. When they're upset, they fall, scrape their knees. We don't just say, just keep moving. You're going to be fine. Oh, you know what? You should have worn a Band-Aid and you should have done this and this is what you should do next. No. We scoop them up. We cuddle them into our arms and we hold them and we help them calm. Do that for yourselves. You'll activate your parasympathetic nervous system and your whole body will begin to quiet. Okay? Get out of your head. So if you find you're in a moment of struggle, remember we had to notice ourselves first. Remember my first homework was cultivate a habit of noticing. We can't do any of this until we notice, right? So we've now noticed I'm in a moment of struggle. We can do any one of these things to quiet and calm our body. And one of those things might be like, I got to get out. I got to go for a walk. I'm going to walk to the mailbox. I'm going to go get the mail. I'm going to take the dog for a walk. I'm going to take the laundry downstairs. I'm going to move. I'm going to move my body. If I'm sitting down, I'm going to stand up. If I'm standing, I'm going to sit down for a moment. If I'm outside, I'm going to go in. If I'm in, I'm going to go out. I'm just going to break it up a little bit. Get my mind, get out of my head. Move your body. That can be helpful, a way of calming. That's our body. Remember our entrance ramps for our body? That was body. Now let's take the entrance ramp of your mind. Think of those thoughts that you're having. Here's some ideas. A lot of our worry, our fear, our overwhelm begins with a what if statement. Am I right? What if this? I've got 4 ideas for ways you can change that what if. What if to what is. What if is going to take you way over here into your future, and what is going to bring you home, right? So what if that scan shows that my cancer's progressed? What's concrete black and white facts do you have? My last scan showed that there had been no progression, that this is that my tumors were responding to my treatment. What is? I can feel my energy level is different than when I first began. My hair is growing back. That's a sign of healing. I am noticing this, right? Can you say what you know to be true? What is? What if to what else, you know? My shoulder's hurting, and I'm worried that is METS. I'm worried that something's going on here, and there's some complication, or what if this is something, what if it, you know what though, also, I was walking through the airport the whole weekend when I flew out to Bethesda for that conference, and I carried that bag on my shoulder the whole doggone weekend, and I bet that's it. Or I was in my garden, and I was crouching down, and so that's why my lower back hurts. So we gotta open it up a little more. Could there be more truth? I call it more truths. Could there be more truths to this worry? What if to then what? So this one has a story. I was working with a caregiver, and he was very anxious about his wife's diagnosis. And we went through what if to what is, we went through what if to what else, and he was like, came back to my office, he's like, none of that works for me. I was like, great. So how are you sitting in front of me? How did you make it? What did you do? He's like, I just went there, Julie. I just went to the worst case scenario. And I paused. But the reality is that sometimes we're working so hard to avoid our fear and our worry that if we just open up and we say, if the scan shows progression, then what? I'm going to sit with my medical team. I'm going to figure out the next plan. What if I can't work? Okay, if you can't work, then we're going to figure out, what resources are available and how we cut back, and we're review a plan. Sometimes it's comforting to find a concrete plan for our worst case scenario. It just kind of feels like, okay, I've looked at it, I've kind of thought about it a little bit, I can put it down now, and I can come back to the present. And then what if to what's left? You are not your cancer diagnosis, right? You are many, many, many things. And sometimes how we're dealing with cancer is taking up all the space in the room. So, okay, that worry is sitting there. I don't know if I can do anything about it, but I'm also going to get together with my friends and we're going to go see this new movie tonight. Or we're going to get together and we're going to play cards. Or we're going to go out and I'm going to go to this new sale that's happening at the store. Or I'm going to do this, I'm going to go to this church service. I'm going to do this, right? You are many things. So sometimes we just need to put it down and we need to move the spotlight over to a different part of our life. Whoop. Look at that. In the same way, another metaphor for you. I gave you driving the rain. Here's another metaphor. Consider all of these thoughts that are running around in your mind and all of these feelings to be the members of your board, right? We like to vilify fear and worry bad. We don't want those. But what if they're serving a purpose? Fear is often just looking out to protect you. Worry wants you to be prepared, right? They're doing a job. So they're members of the board, but my good God, do they monopolize the board meeting? You are the executive, you are the chairman of the board, daggone it. Get back in your seat. Fear, you raise good points. Thank you. That'll be all for today. Worry, I appreciate your input. We will look at finding some questions to some of finding some answers that you've brought up to your questions. Thank you for your time. Fear and worry might be showing up. Overwhelm, I can tell there's a lot to do. Let's find the first step, right? You're the chairman. You're the executive of the board. Notice it. Say thank you for your time. I appreciate what you've brought to the table today, and we will get to it in due time. You're the chairman of the board. In your life, and now I'm going to get moving fast because the time is showing, and maybe others have showed this. In your cancer experience, there are many people here to support you. You've got mental health professionals, you've got medical professionals, you've got caregivers and survivors right here, the peers who are walking the walk with you, and then you've got your friends and your family. All of those people have been with you historically. Right now, we're going to do one last exercise, and then we'll move on. We'll get to some Q&A. I want you to sit back and I want you to categorize all the people in your life. We're going to think about all the people in your life, all right? And the reason why we're going to do this is to protect you. Because sometimes when I notice there's stressors, when people in your lives either are supporting us in ways that feel awkward or feel disappointing, or that really they don't know what to say or who to turn to for what. So first and foremost, I want you to think of you got all the people in you got all the players in your mind? Can you identify in your mind those in your group that know exactly what to say? They can take it. They can sit in the bottom of the well with you. They're not scared to be there. And they're willing to be right with you. If you've found those people in your mind, they're special. I call those your F friends, your feeling people. You probably, my guess would be you probably have 2, maybe 3 of those. It's a small group. It's not a big group of people. Your F friends, they get it. Or maybe they don't get it, but they know exactly how to love you. Your D friends are the vast majority of people in your world. And the D friends love you. They care deeply about you. They want to support you, and they would do whatever you need them to do. But my God, if you fall apart in front of them, they don't know what to do with that. And maybe they try and fix it, or maybe they get cliche, and it feels real wonky. You really feel close to them, and then suddenly you lose it, and they're just not sure what to do. Okay? But they care about you, and they will do stuff for you. So if you need something to get done, you go to a D friend. Okay? If you need something to talk over practicalities or somebody to plan something and you need to parachute and get out of your life, D friend. Okay, R people are probably the ones that have been the most disappointing or hurtful to you, perhaps. They've disappeared. They never ask you anything about yourself. Well, I have done this work for 20 years. And so I've come to learn that there are times when most people going through cancer get sick and tired of dealing with cancer. And they want to go someplace and have somebody not ask them how they are and they want to focus on something else for God's sake. You know who you go to? You go right on over here to an R, because they won't ask you a doggone thing about yourself. They won't check in. They will not say, how are you? They will talk about themselves the whole night. They will tell jokes. They will talk about whatever you are, whatever. They won't ask you about cancer at all. It's as if you don't even have it, right? Really helpful if you want to parachute out of cancer for a second. So when you need a vacation, when you need respite, you go on over to an R. And they're going to do whatever they can, but they're not going to ask you about anything about yourself. The reason we do this is because if you ask your R people to do something for you, they do not have time. And if you go with all your big feelings to a D, they're like a deer in headlights and they don't know what to do with that. So it behooves you to know who your people are. Throughout your cancer diagnosis, there are going to be times when you zoom in and you do just what's right in front of you. But let there also be times when you zoom way out. Kind of like what Sean was talking about this morning with figuring out what matters to you. What are your values? What brings you home? What's your North Star? Because sometimes when it's real dark and twisty, as I like to say, that's the only thing that you lean on. So sometimes we zoom in, sometimes we zoom out. Okay, Margaret, what's coming up in the Q&A? How should we, we're not done yet, don't go anywhere, and this is the best part of the talk. What's the Q&A? What's coming up?
The first question is, it's hard when we lose survivors in our community. I feel so guilty I'm still here. What do you suggest for coping?
So am I hearing you right? It's hard when we lose other survivors in our community? Is that what it was? And what do we do with that? Losing fellow survivors is hard, and it can trigger, of course, grief, but it can also trigger what we call survivor's guilt. Why them, not me? What's going on? I think of survivor's guilt as a part of grieving. I guess each of you grieve in your own ways. And we all grieve in a different timeline and a different pace. But I would say, like any grief, let's honor the value of that person, where they mattered, their legacy, what they were to you, how they influenced you, how they changed the way you see and walk this cancer trajectory. And then, as you begin to figure out how to step forward, how can you live out some of that in the way that you connect and relate to other people? That's where they're showing up. That's where they're still here. Right? Can you be part of their legacy?
Thanks. So we only have 5 minutes for questions, so just wanted to know for you to know if we don't get to yours. How should I respond? Whoops, messages moved. Okay, I'm going to go on to the next one. Toxic positivity, bouncing around still. I'm sick of being told to stay positive. How do I balance reality and hope?
Toxic positivity is blech. I don't like it. I have a whole entire talk on toxic positivity. And you know, a lot of times when I begin to talk about toxic positivity, people say, but I am positive, I am optimistic. So am I. Being positive and happy and optimistic is different than toxic positivity. Toxic positivity is when the positive, optimistic messaging is dismissive and minimizing to the truth that this is not always easy. And it somehow makes that bad and wrong and a problem. It's honest, and it's totally okay. So what I say to people when you're face-to-face with toxic positivity is, number one, is the person that you're talking to able to hear this message? You're going to have to ask your question. Do they have the capacity to have me redirect this? They may not, in which case you're just going to accept that, and you know that you've got your F's and your D's somewhere else that will give you what you need, okay? Because to fight that, you can certainly stand up for yourself, but it may not land. So if you choose to speak, it may be to assert yourself, but it may not make a difference to the other party. On the other hand, you may be face-to-face with toxic positivity to one of your F's or somebody that you really love. And then you think they may be able to hear this. Okay, so now we're going to take the other side of the fork of the road. And on that side, you can say, let's prime the pump by guessing why they do that. So my guess is that people are doing the best they can and that they think this is helpful. That's what I'm going to guess. I'm going to say, you know, I know that it must be hard to see me struggle, or it's maybe hard to know what to say. But things like that minimize that sometimes I feel really crappy, or sometimes this is totally overwhelming to me, and I just need you to listen. Okay? So you're either going to, first you're going to make a choice. Can the person hear this or not? If they can't hear it, you're either going to assert yourself, but it's not going to land, or you're not going to say anything at all. Or you're going to choose to say something and correct them and help them to understand that this isn't helpful to you.
Thanks. How should I respond to people who say, you don't look like you have cancer, when in reality, I feel fatigued? Right. I feel fatigued and everything aches. The statement makes me feel like the person I am lying about having cancer and is questioning my integrity.
That's hard, right? I find that it's hard, because you might be feeling like you're living two different identities. And when I sit with people in my office, they don't always want to lead with their cancer self. So they want to be able to present themselves in a certain way and still have people relate to them in that way. But somehow, at the same time, they want people to know that there's this really big thing sitting in their heart and in their story. How do we navigate both? I think it a little bit goes back to your people, your F's and your D's. There will be some people who earn their way into those very real, sacred, intimate parts of your heart that get it. They begin to understand there's complexity here. And there will be a lot of people who never fully understand and meet you in a different place. And that's part of your own grief, right? Is that there is some of this that's a duality for you. And mostly, both with toxic positivity and with this factor, we also do them to ourselves. Did you hear that? We often go home to our own mirror and look in the mirror and say, get it together. You are going to be fine. Stop crying in a corner. Stop it. And that's doing toxic positivity to ourselves, right? So instead, in those moments when you feel that, put your hand on your heart, touch your body. Don't just say it, touch, bring it home. Put your hand on your heart and say, this is difficult. It's hard when people don't see the totality of how I feel and who I am. It's important to me that they see that I'm capable and I'm still myself, but there's a part of me that people never fully, completely see and understand, and I'm doing the best I can. And I'm strong when I tell my limits, and I take good care of myself when I reach out to other people or I get to bed on time. And there are other people just like me who aren't right around me right now, except for today, who are also doing this. I'm not alone. And that's when you join a support group and you come to Hope Summit and you do all this stuff, because finding each other matters a great deal in the big world. All right, that is all I have for you today.
Wow.
So
Wow.
I'm outside, find me.
Oh my goodness. We do the best we can, don't we? Julie Larson, we know the best care is care that's holistic in nature. Thank you. Thank you, friend, for these tips on how to take care of our hearts and our minds. Thank you to Margaret, who did a great job with our Q&A. Again, let's give Julie and Margaret a round of applause.
Thank you.